getting a great chest. This is obviously a huge goal for a lot of guys. But in my experience of what I've seen in the gym when I personal train people is that people really don't know how to execute chest movements and recruit their chest as much as possible. So here we have got an incline dumbbell press. It's an exercise that everyone uses. A lot of guys use it. But what do? Generally, they load as much weight as possible onto their arms. They try to use the heaviest dumbbells because they think everyone's watching them, and they just move a weight from point A to point B. They move it from their chest, up until the end of the movement, back down, and they just bang out reps. All they're doing is counting a number, and especially focusing on the number of the dumbbells, and they're not actually thinking about getting the movement correctly. So I'm obviously going to go first and show you how most people do it, and I'll explain to you as I'm moving through the movement where they are going wrong. So most guys, what they're doing is they come in like this. You can see how my shoulders are lifting up off the bench. Now, why do they do this? Number one, they don't know how to execute the movement correctly. Number two, it's going to make you a lot stronger and it's a lot easier if you recruit your triceps as much as possible and your shoulder. So what happens is that the shoulder is finishing above the chest, as you can see through the camera there, and that means the shoulder is taking the majority of the load. I can't even contract my chest in this position. So if you can't contract your chest and you can't recruit your chest, how is your chest going to grow if you're doing this movement incorrectly? You can see I'm allowing my shoulders to lift up. My chest, I can barely even feel it working, guys. So my suggestion is, if you've been doing the movement incorrectly like that, here is my starting position. The first thing I'm doing is I'm retracting or pinching my shoulder blades together, as you can see, and now my shoulders have shifted down. They've shifted and they're in contact with the bench. And now that is very important. Now I'm taking nice controlled eccentric or downward portion of the rep, and when I'm driving up, I'm keeping my shoulder blades pinched or my scapula tracted, and when I finish the movement, now my shoulders are in contact with the bench and my chest finishes above the shoulder. Originally shoulder finished up there, now the shoulder's finishing below the chest. When it finishes below the chest, it means that my chest is the thing that's actually contracting and doing the work. So it's very important that you understand the difference between lifting your shoulders up off the bench and recruiting the tricep and shoulder compared to being smart about it and initiating the movement through the chest and keeping it in the chest. That way your chest is going to get optimal development because your chest is being challenged in a dumbbell chest press. There's no point in getting your shoulders to do all the work if you're trying to develop your chest. As you can see, it's very easy to allow the supporting structures to take over this movement. I mean, it was very easy to allow my triceps and shoulders to take the load in this exercise. But as I said, it's a chest press. So we're trying to recruit the chest as much as possible. If you've been doing it incorrectly for a long time, you'll see that you might have really good developed triceps. Your shoulders are probably rounded because you've had so much anterior work on the shoulder by lifting off the bench, and then your chest will be almost hollow. So if you've got that look, there's a very good chance that you haven't been contracting the chest well enough during chest exercise and stimulated enough. And I would know this because this is the mistake I made for years. If you have been doing it incorrectly, guys, I promise you need to assess your form as quick as possible. You need to focus on that retraction of the scapula to keep the shoulder pressed into the pad. So when you push, the chest is doing all the work. But like I said, I've done it incorrectly for a number of years. If you're still doing it incorrectly, guys, you need to understand it's going to take so much practice and diligence to basically learn the movement all over again. If you've been doing the movement incorrectly and allowing that shoulder to lift up, it's ingrained into you, guys. You've been doing it like that for such a long time that trying to get yourself to do it in a new manner is going to take a lot of effort and consistency. So my first advice is you're going to have to drop down in weight. Forget about servicing your ego while you're at the gym. No one's watching you, guys. If you go down in weight, do the movement correctly, and you develop an awesome chest, surely that's better than going in there and just trying to lift the heaviest weight you can, and then you've got a shit chest development the rest of your life. It just doesn't make sense. So drop the weight and understand that it's going to take focus and every session for weeks and months on end to correct your form. Because what's going to happen is that if you've learned the movement incorrectly for a number of years, sure, you might be focused on the first few reps of the movement and trying to challenge the chest as much as possible, but I guarantee you, the moment you get tired in the movement and fatigue, you're going to revert back to your default form. So it is so critical that you guys have patience when you're doing this movement and correcting your form, because it's going to take months and months and months of work. Trust me, it's going to take months of using lighter weights. It's going to take months of making sure you do the movement correctly. It's not going to happen overnight. I would know because it took me years to correct my form and get my chest to a suitable level. It's still not amazing development in my chest, but it was way better than what it was previously when I was doing the movements incorrectly, guys. So have patience and trust me on this one. There's no secret to suddenly getting an amazing chest. It's going to take weeks and months and years of work to get that form perfect so the chest can be challenged so you can get an amazing chest. So guys, let me know if you try this out. Tag me in your videos on Instagram. More than happy to critique your form in the comments on your videos. Just let me know and we can take things from there. Okay.